that's been revealed when we walk in your lights. When we walk in it.
Hello, and welcome to The Torch. As usual, I'm Pat,
I'm Kevin.
and today we're going to talk about making our voices heard.
Making our voices heard. I like that. I like my voice being heard a lot. How about you?
Well, sometimes it depends on what I'm saying.
Just depends on what you're saying. Sometimes you want to just not say anything at all, right? Maybe.
Right.
So it's been a couple weeks since we were able to do the torch, and that was no fault of the wanting to do the podcast. And so now that we're back and stuff, you've got this show, and then we have next show. Do we want to just let everybody know what this one's going to, kind of an overview, and then what's next
Sure.
one's going to come, so they can look for it?
Today we're going to talk about, well, I'm going to give you some early on stuff.
Sure.
Preliminary to it, but ultimately what we're going to talk about is how you can reach your representatives in government, both state and federal.
Oh, okay.
And
It's not a mystery.
it's not a mystery. There is a certain way you probably want to approach it.
Sure.
And how to find, get your pencil and paper ready because you're going to have some websites to write down.
So that's coming up in this episode right here.
Right.
And then so they can kind of look forward to the following episode, or the one that's coming. Yeah.
That one's going to be on the Electoral College.
Electoral College.
So it's something that people misinterpret, don't understand, don't even want to dig into.
You know, is there such a? They don't really teach us much anymore. So there's a lot of people that think that is a mystery. What that's about.
Right, and it's just a case of fairness, really, when you get right down to it.
Hey, that's pretty simple. And a case of fairness. I like that.
Yeah, you know, when you've got counties in some states that are as big as the state of Rhode Island or something, they have a lot of people living in there. And then you've got states that their population is not even as big as some counties are.
Like a farming state that has more land that's growing our food. You know, that's
Well, Montana,
Yeah.
Idaho, places like that, you know, they're both compared to a county in some other state. They have less voters than that county does, and so their opinion isn't.
right. And that's why the founding fathers were genius coming up with the Electoral College. And so we'll talk about that the next round. I am looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to this one too, because you know there are probably a lot of people that they're a little bit nervous about how do we find our representative, and am I worthy enough to even go talk to them? So why don't you just jump right in, Miss Pat, and then I'll kind of tag
Okay.
along. How about that?
Like I said, I'm going to cover a few little things before we really get into that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to start with asking you a question, like I usually do.
Asking me a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I love questions. Go ahead.
When does Texas Congress meet? When is Texas Congress in session?
Well, they're probably 365 days minus weekends. Like if they work at that job, they don't come every day. The legislator does not show up every day to work like we do.
Well, he probably does, but this is in session.
In session. Okay, tell us.
They are meeting every year or whatever, however it's set up in that particular state, or even the federal government for that matter.
They have sessions.
They have sessions when they are considering bills and that sort of thing. Texas, by the way, meets January 14th through June the 2nd. The next one is in 2025.
Oh.
Is that shocking?
So they don't meet every year?
No.
They don't meet in a session every year?
They meet on odd-numbered years. They and three other states. The other three other states are Nevada, North Dakota, and Montana.
Interesting.
Other states have different ways of different dates. Some of them meet every other month, or however that particular state set it up. And, it's set up in the state's constitution as to when they were going to meet and that sort of thing.
So they're not passing, these particular states, they're not like passing new laws every year. It's like,
Now there's a catch there.
oh, okay.
The governor can call special sessions. Well, no, he probably didn't. I'm not sure. I was thinking the governor had called a special session about the border thing, but I can't remember for sure if that's what happened. Anyway, if the governor calls a special session, that session can last for 30 days, up to 30 days.
Up to 30 days.
Up to 30 days. And it's limited to topics designated by the governor. This is according to the Texas Constitution, Article 3, Section 40.
Interesting.
So it's just a case, and it's limited to 30 days, and if he puts a bill or something before Congress, they can consider that bill.
I think I remember here in Texas, was it last summer or the summer before that, he was calling and making them come back again and again because they would not get a decision done or something?
I think so. That's what I was thinking about. Of course, last year, they would have had a session because it was an odd-numbered year.
But it was, they didn't fix certain...
They didn't fix something, or there was more to it that they needed to consider. And so the governor can call a special session like that.
To make him come back to office. Was it him or somebody else that when we had some rogue leaders take off, they wouldn't show up to have to vote, and he sent a plane to go get them or something? Or he told them that he's going to send the sheriffs to go arrest them because they weren't...
I don't remember exactly what
something
he was going to do, but they decided they were not going to attend the sessions, and of course they were not abiding by their particular oath in their office
to show up for sessions.
to show up for sessions.
And so it's against the law. They're breaking the law.
Yeah, I guess you could say they were breaking the law. I can't remember the details on that.
But something like that. So when a governor calls a session, or if they're in regular session, I mean, that's a requirement for them because that's what they're there for.
That's what they're there for. That's what they're getting paid for by us, the taxpayers.
Oh, the taxpayers pay them? Mm-hmm. Which means that we're the employers, right?
That's right. Keep that in mind because we're going to cover some of that.
Awesome.
I'm just going to briefly tell you something. I have this 2.5-page thing that tells how a bill becomes law. I'm not going to read the whole thing,
Sure.
needless to say. But basically what happens is a senator or a representative comes up with this idea for a bill.
Okay.
Regardless of whether it's a good idea or not. They have, it has to be presented before a session of Congress within 60 days of the start.
When they present the bill, then they have to, or they introduce it and then they have to present the materials of it or whatever.
Exactly. And then it goes through this long process of going through committee and this and that and 16 other things that I'm not going to go into detail. It's boring.
Yes.
It was boring for me to read anyway. And at the end of it, when it all comes down to it, if the bill is passed through the House and the Senate, then it goes to the governor, for he can veto it, or he can
Sign it, right?
he can sign it, or he can just let it ride and it'll automatically become law.
So if he doesn't want to, like if it was a controversial thing, but he knows if he vetoes it, there'll be a backlash, but he doesn't agree to it, so so he can't sign it. But if he doesn't veto it, then and it just sits on his desk,
After so long,
it just automatically becomes law.
yeah, that's the way I understand it.
I think I've heard that too.
This is pretty complicated and it's not real interesting reading.
So if they would like to get a copy, they can email you.
Well, if they would like to get a copy, I think I got the web address.
Oh, that's even better.
I do. They can go right directly to it. And
Directly to it. Now directly.
This applies to federal government too.
So not just state, it's kind of the way the federal.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think so, because this is coming from the state of Texas, and this is the way the state of Texas works. Your state may work a little differently.
Sure.
And this same web address applies to most states with maybe a little bit of a variation of how it's laid out.
Uh-huh.
But this one is house.www.about-us/bill.
Okay. Got it.
Got it. Photographic memory. You didn't even look at it.
It's just like I'll take a little picture of it, even though I had to ask Miss Pat her email address like 5 times. It was like three letters.
But I wanted to bring this out
Yeah.
so that the people know what they're supposed to be doing up there, whether they're showing up for it or not, because people have been known not to show up over periods of time, and but one individual, not a whole raft of people.
A whole chamber
Yeah.
didn't show up. Yeah.
So
So that's how it becomes law, and so
now we know how it becomes law. So how are we going to make our voices heard so that our representatives that we put into office are going to do what are going to hear us and speak for us when they're in session, or even when they're out of session if a special session is called. Here in Texas, the border is a hot issue.
oh yeah,
And in most states, abortion is a hot issue.
hot issue. Yeah.
So, you have an opinion on these things and a lot of others. And so you have the right to contact your representative via House of Representatives or a senator. So,
Interesting. When a couple of years ago, when we had met down at the Capitol when they were in session there was a call out for pastors across the state to come, and they were targeting pastors at the time because of some of the churches have a lot of sway, evidently, because we represent numbers of people. And when they were showing us how to go down to the offices and sign in and to speak to your representative, they also showed us that if your representative was in the House of Representative chamber area, that you could go and they have somebody at the door that is a messenger that you can go in. They would come out and you would say, "I'd like to see Representative so and so," and they would go in there, go to that person and tell them you have a constituent that'd like to speak to you, and the representative could go ahead and come on out and speak to the representative. Maybe you had something to say about the bill that they were working on right then and there, or some other reason that you wanted to talk to them. And sometimes they would come out, and sometimes they were maybe speaking, or they were right in the middle of needing to listen to something, and they would not be able to come out. But it sounded like, now we requested one of our representatives to come out, but I don't remember if we could wait that long or something. If it was, they didn't have to rush out the door right then and there if they were like somebody was debating something, they needed to hear it. But it was part of being able to get your representative, that you could actually, even if they're in the chamber, not in their office, you could request to see them. So there is processes in place to be able to actually talk to these people.
and the whole thing is, number one, you need to find out who they are.
Who they are.
Who your representative
Right.
is, whether they're Senate or House, you need to find that out. And there's several ways to do it, statewide and federal. And I'll give you some. I'm not going to try to give you web addresses throughout this. I'm going to give it to you at the end.
Right.
And if you want it, want me to send you that list, I can do that to you through an email. And all you need to do is just send me an email, and I'll
Yep.
certainly do that.
Yep.
But for right now, I'm just going to go down through this so that you understand But you can find who your representative is, both state and federal, by going online. If you are not on the internet, I'm sure you can find somebody who is. But like I said, you can always contact me through an email, but you got to be on the internet to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what you need to do is come together as a group. You can do it by yourself if you want to.
Yeah.
I suggest that you form a group. You can form a group through your church, through clubs that you belong to your neighborhood, your work. Well, I don't know. Maybe your boss wouldn't like to bring politics into the office,
But like after hours, like our
Yeah.
lunch break,
yeah, something like that. That could work. Sure.
some churches could do a life group on a particular topic and let people sign up if they wanted to be a part of a life group that dealt with this kind of thing.
Oh, certainly, and we will even teach some of this stuff in something like a life group
If they want, yeah.
they want. But you can do that, and I encourage you to form groups because groups are better.
Yeah. Well, it's helpful. It's
Yeah.
helpful, to have other people that might be better at something than you. Maybe somebody's a better letter writer, but somebody else is a better speaker.
Yeah, or somebody else is a better researcher.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to get to know your representative, you need somebody who can research how this person is doing. And so I do encourage you to form a group, and you need help with that. I can do that too. So
Right. So there's resources out there, whether they go online themselves to print or they make contact here. There's no reason to be ignorant about any of these if everything is there at your fingertips.
yeah, don't be afraid to ask. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. But there's 5 or 6 tips here about letter writing, but these tips extend over into if you want to do emails or if you want to, or in a phone conversation.
Sure.
That they all apply in contacting your representative. And I'm just going to go down through these for you and understand that many of the legislators believe that letters represent not only the position of you, the writer, on an issue, and many of the constituents, ones who are as well, people who aren't writing and expressing their opinion on an issue. So they kind of base their decisions on the letters that they get. Keep that in mind because they have managed I don't remember, I think it was Illinois or Indiana, there was a campaign that went out on, and I don't remember the topic now, but they were able to change the Congress of that state to not go through with whatever that bill was that they were trying to put through.
The people can do something about it
Yes.
if they get together too,
Yeah,
and
it takes togetherness.
yeah.
It says it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a whole country of people coming together to change the government.
Yeah. So, these tips right here, it's like these things are useful items. These things are not, and I've heard this before too, sometimes it's better to write a letter and mail it because they take the representatives and the Senate, these people really take these letters seriously.
Yeah, they
and
do.
not just an email, right?
Not just, well, they will take an email seriously too. If you have a whole group of people, say you're able to contact 5,000 people who will write. Well,
An email, yeah, or
if their emails are filled up with 5,000 letters, they're going to pay attention. Well, probably less than that even. But because what we said right here, if they get a letter from a constituent, they kind of base that on how all of their constituents feel. And by the way, for those who don't know What a constituent is? That's hard to say.
Constituent. Say it 10 times.
Real fast.
It's constituent. Sounds like a funny word when you say it a whole bunch of times, though.
But a constituent is one who authorizes another to act as their agent.
I did not know that. Say it again. I did not know that, Miss Pat. I really didn't. Say it again.
One who authorizes another to act as agent.
So a constituent is one who authorizes another as their agent.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
You have a senator or a representative in the House, and who helped put that person there?
They're voters, the voters.
And the voters are authorizing them to act as their agent on behalf of them on bills that are before the Congress and stuff like that.
So if the one that you are authorizing to make decisions on your behalf, in that case, decides they're just not going to listen to you anymore, would that make you a little frowny face?
Well, it would make me think about, hey, we need to get him out of office next time around.
So you are fired.
Yeah.
So we can fire people that we are not being good
Sure, just vote,
representatives.
Just vote them out.
Vote them out.
You have to wait for an election.
Or they can be recalled if they're really bad.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that, though, I think.
Yeah, but we'll get into recalls later.
Okay, so we're going to stay on task because my lovely bride even told us we had to stay on task today.
So,
You know, I can't. There it is. Snap. We have to stay on task because I like the little rabbit trails sometimes. I think they appreciate the little extra stories. But
just think about it.
yes,
If more of us took the time to write letters, to contact our representatives through whatever source we want, think of the impact that it could have on the various issues of this nation.
a lot.
A whole lot.
Was it you that said the squeaky wheel gets the oil?
Yeah.
So the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If somebody else is not really as morally sound as you are squeaking about their rights, and none of us who are saying, wait a minute here, that is crazy nonsense. That doesn't even make biological sense. Don't say anything. Guess what? They're going to think we're all thinking that way, right?
Right. You know,
Right.
they listen to their constituents, or they're supposed to. If they don't, we need to get rid of them.
Yep.
So, you know, and I'll get into it a little bit here too about how to find out what bills are up before Congress. But
Okay.
let's go through these tips
Sure.
first.
Thank you.
Number one is keep it brief. Never longer than one page, and limit it to one issue and be as concise as possible.
That's reasonable.
Right.
Reasonable.
I believe someone here in our church wrote a letter to our senator, and he used bullet points and right down the line of what he was trying to instill in him, and he got a letter back with bullet points.
Yeah. Awesome.
And so, you know, it worked out. I didn't hear the outcome of it, but but that's beside the point. That's just an example of the way it should look. Be concise, be to the point, and don't rattle on.
And don't be mean.
No, okay, we'll get to that.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead.
I gotta keep him in check.
Yeah, keep me in the check. I got checked when we're doing our taxes too today. I kept veering off course, and the tax preparer and my wife kept putting me back on task.
Okay. State who you are and what you want up front.
Okay.
No rabbit trails. The first paragraph, introduce yourself as a constituent. That constituent word again is important to them. And identify the issue you're writing about. If you're writing about a specific piece of legislation, identify its bill number. And like I said, I'll tell you where to find that in a little bit. But usually the bill numbers read something like H.R. and the number, or S and the number. Because HR is House of Representatives, and of course S is the Senate. And then number 3, state your 3 most important points. Choose the 3 most effective points to persuade the legislator to support your position. In other words, don't try to give them your life or anything like that. Just get to the point. Hopefully they get a lot of letters, and hopefully they all get to the point. But they're going to pay attention to those that are easiest to read.
Mm-hmm.
Because they get a lot of stuff.
Because they're very busy too.
Yes.
And I mean, busy for our behalf.
Yes.
But nevertheless.
Okay, personalize your letter. Yeah, you're looking at me saying, huh? That's where you kind of get off track there sometimes. Tell your legislator why this matters to his or her community or state. Not so much to you, but how it can affect the state or the community that he lives in. If you have a personal story that shows how this issue affects you and your family, include it. This can be very persuasive as the legislator shapes his or her presentation, because he's going to have to put this together in a specific form and present it to the House or to the Senate. Also, personalize your relationship. Have you ever voted for him or her? Contributed time or money to their campaign? Have you encountered them through a business or personal relationship? If you have had any type of encounter, use it to your advantage. The closer they feel to you, the more powerful your argument is likely to be. And last but not least, you are the expert. The legislator works for you, and it is their job to represent you. You should always be courteous and to the point, and don't be afraid to stand firm.
Those are good tips. And you know, when you were talking about helping to be persuasive, I'm going to give a quick little story. So this week I had an opportunity to participate in one of those like a market thing where you go and you're part of a panel and stuff like that. And I can't say a lot about it with names and specifications, but it was I got to be chosen as the foreperson for the group. And when we listened to the presentation, we were all forming an opinion based on the first presenter. And then we had an opportunity to hear the opposing presenter. And as the opposing presenter showed us information, our opinions began to radically change, or it's not radically. We began looking at, maybe that the first presenter, everything that was stated was not everything that was correct. It wasn't. It sounded good, and it was like, oh man, the first presenter, this is the way I'm going to go. Until the second presenter got up, and when the second presenter got up, it's like, well, wait a minute here, and as we were left to ourselves after the presentation, the group of us began to go through the facts and go through the information, and everybody was being able to say these things and share their opinion. And I noticed that one particular person even stated that as the meeting went on and others presented the material, like other people in the group heard the presentation, they were able to share their opinion, completely changed the outcome of the way it was going to go at the very first. And so by the time we were done, all of us pretty well were agreeing to something that was different from what the first presenter wanted. So when a bill or something is introduced by somebody, it's like even maybe some of the elected officials might say, I don't know, I mean, it kind of sounds good, maybe we should do this. The other side to that can come and say, well, this is why this is not a good idea, and you state your case. It's like this is detriment to the community, to families, to whatever, and they present the facts, which can unwind and basically defeat some of these outlandish stuff. Because I think everybody knows in the country there's a bunch of crazy bills that come up to be voted on. There's one right now that I saw in the Epoch Times. It was a blur, but if I'm going to share this anyway, if you want a truly, I think, truth-telling, that's Epoch Times right here, whatever side you're on, if you're not doing good, they're going to go after, it's going to say something. So it's not like, it's real news, real reporting, not slanted one way, so what was I getting at? About the Electoral College you were talking about for our next visit with them. That there is this move to try to and some, even I guess in maybe some of the states, to try to go to a populist vote versus the Electoral College. Now, how can, if we don't say anything about and say this is why we have to keep the Electoral College. The founding fathers were genius, and it's kept our country a country. We wouldn't even be a country if we would have went to a popular slang back 100 years ago. We wouldn't even be America anymore, I don't think. But there's so many checks and balances that are in place in our form of government that it's kept any tyrant from quickly seizing power. Now, over the course of time, because of some representatives only hearing one side and not hearing from the constituents on the other side, might just vote because they think everybody in their area is like that. And so slowly some of the freedoms have been eroded because of not voicing your opinion. And these tips that you're sharing are all about helping to say, hey, this is up for a vote. You've heard the other side. Here's my side. Here's what I think about it. And this is, like you said, using these tips can change their mind completely and show you why this is not a good idea. So, as Miss Pat's sharing these things, and it doesn't have to be a book. You don't have to be a major writer. It can be like a paragraph to the point quickly, because people that are super busy, that are give me the bottom line. Don't give me all the fluff around it. Just give me the bottom line. I'm probably added a little extra fluff all around just to help paint the picture.
He and I are direct opposites.
Yeah.
It takes him 15 minutes to summarize something, and it takes me one sentence.
And that's not being too pointy either. It's just like 15 minutes to get to the summary item, because I want you to know all the information surrounding the topic before I get to the topic. Miss Pat, and that's the personality type. So that's awesome. So she wants get to the total. I wanted you to get to the total, not why you need the total. Right?
Right.
Okay. So
first time I ever did that to him, he
I think I went in the bathroom and cried for a few minutes. So anyway, so back to your points, Miss Pat, your summary. What's a summary of why do you want to email or letter, write, call your representatives?
So your voice is heard.
Case in point. Let's give Miss Pat a great big. Make your voice heard.
That's what it all boils down to. You sit there on the couch and you grumble and you fuss, and you look at all these stuff on television that is probably not true.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why your food is costing you more than it should, and your house, you can't buy a house because they're way out of line.
Out of line, yeah.
But you're not doing anything about it. And what you need to do is start talking to people and unite and get together, and each of you write letters. Hey, and make phone calls too.
Yeah.
Each of these representatives of your government, state and federal, they have offices, and you can go online and find those phone numbers, addresses, everything that you need. Mm-hmm. And there's no way that there's any excuse for letting some of this stuff go by. Well, the only excuse you have is complacency.
Complacency.
I'm sorry, I'm stepping on toes probably, but
Well, true though. True.
yeah, this is all about truth. You know, you can visit, like he said, you can visit the state capitol and possibly talk to your representative there. If you make a phone call to his office, you're probably going to talk to an aide, but that aide is responsible for getting the message to him. And if you don't hear back from him in some form, pick up the phone and call him again.
Right.
I met a lady one day, and I didn't know her. She was just started talking, and she says, "I just keep bugging them till they answer me." And she would. That's just the way she came across. And so we need more people like that who will do that.
And it doesn't matter how old you are, what season of life you are in. You know, it's not like you just because you're just turned 18 and you're just a new voter that you can't be wise enough to look around and see what is your future adulthood going to look like, or your future family, what is it going to look like if we allow some of this stand. Or if you're a working person, we understand in those working years when you have the kids that are little in baseball and school and you're trying to earn, during that time, your time is not as freed up. However, that's why joining a group or be a part where there's other people that are organizers who are helping to get the information to you to make it easy. Because I know that there's a lot of people that are in that family time frame where there's not a lot of discretionary time. Mm-hmm. Everybody's pulling on them, so they just need the bottom line. Tell me what to do, where to go. And it takes other people like yourself that can do some research sometimes, and that's why we're all work together, that we unify as a people.
Right. This isn't about age, for one thing.
No.
This isn't about politics. It's not about Republicans or Democrats or conservatives or whatever else is floating around out there. As a matter of fact, it's not about denominations and non-denominations.
Nope.
It's about God and country. And if we don't stand up and get off our backsides and start talking to our representatives and getting some of these bills that are before Congress either passed or kicked out, if you can go in and you can look up the bills that are coming up. And if you don't like them, then tell your representative. If you do like them, or if there's something there that you would like for them to do, that's where your letters and phone calls come in. It's just a case of taking responsibility for what's going on in this nation, because it does belong to we the people.
And they are you are the constituent. You are the constituent. You are the authorizer.
Yes. And I always tell them that you are a constituent. That seems to be a word, a trigger word, that they like that word. And, like I said, you can visit your state capitol. You can attend meetings of your chosen party. The Republican and the Democratic Party both have monthly meetings. They have special meetings. They have rallies. Get out and, you got a election coming up in November. There's going to be rallies of people who are running for office. We've got a senator running for office in this state, a U.S. senator running for office in this state, and several others, including the president. And all of these people have rallies. Go out, go to the rally, get to the person who's trying to get your vote and talk to him if you can. You may have to push your way through a crowd, or not. They love to shake hands.
Yeah, we got to experience a couple month or two back. We got to go to one of these gatherings that had a meal and stuff like that. Actually, two of them recently that I've never attended one like that. Yeah. We've done the Capitol thing and we've done the conferences and stuff, but not like an actual where you can maybe meet the candidate that you might want to help if they stand for your values, and you would feel like they would be a great authorized person on your behalf. And so going and experiencing that and actually shaking hands and meeting them, it becomes more personal to you then, and you're a little bit more inclined to, you feel more a part of the workings of our government when you do stuff like that. And you are part of it, whether you sit on your backside or not, right?
Yeah, you are part of it. I mean, your future, your kids' future, your grandkids' future. I'm going to make an appeal here to some of these retirees who, when they retired, they quit.
Don't go sit down.
Don't go sit down. Trust me on that one. Don't go sit down. Get your momentum going and find something to do. And this is something that can really bring you out, and you're going to find you'll probably enjoy it, especially if you like to confront people. But so, you can. These are some of the things that you can do to get out there and find things. So you're sitting there and saying, "All right, Pat, you're talking about all these bills. How in the world am I going to find out about the bills?" Well, I'm going to talk about Texas, but I'm going to tell you also that all states have this ability. You just some of them. I can't go through all the states
Right.
on my own. You're going to need to find your own research on some of it, but it's not that hard to find those bills right online. And basically what you're going to be doing is ready to write? Okay. www.yourstatesname.gov, G-O-V, as in www.alabama.gov. Now, you may run into a situation where it's www.myflorida.gov. It's the way Florida's is. I'm just giving you some hints here.
Sure, absolutely.
Also watch out for abbreviations. Like New Mexico is abbreviated NM, Nevada NV. These are just some hints on it. And you can always go and Google, your state's name and bills before Congress. You can also get information about states, including legislator and activity sessions and so forth. www.senate and your state's name.gov or house and your state's name.gov. There's also here in Texas, there's also something called, and that may be national too. Legiscan, Legiscan.com in your state's name.
Legiscan.
Legiscan. Federal is very similar. If you want the congressional calendar for federal, now that's a whole nother story.
And we're almost out of time, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to come back to that one.
But very quickly, you can go in and look at their calendar, and they do meet monthly at various times. And sometimes it's a full Congress, House and Senate. Sometimes it's just one or the other. If you will go to www.rollcall.com, ROLLCALL.com, and it gives you the 2024 congressional calendar for the United States. The voting, if you want voting records for your federal House and Senate, it also includes bills before the House and Senate and votes. It includes their addresses. Govtrack.com, GOVTRACK.US, .US.
.us, yeah.
And information on the House of Representatives, including legislative activity, house.gov. Same thing for Senate, only at senate.gov. So, these are all websites that you can go to, and if you if you're not active on the internet, I bet you have a son or a daughter or a grandson or a granddaughter or a friend or somebody who is. Hey, don't back away from the internet. My brother was 92 years old when he died, and he was very active on the internet.
Yeah. I was thinking about my grandparents and stuff, and they were farmers and everything like that. And I think they did not want to learn new technology, and they just kept it just a telephone, a rotary phone, and so.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like that. It's not scary.
No, and you can't really make any mistakes unless you
Wipe out and format a hard drive on accident. Then you so.
We won't go there.
We won't go there. So, to summarize today's message before we pray, what would this is so much information right here, and a lot of this is going to be on the bottom of the screen or at the closing screen. But the summary of today is really giving. It's
Uniting and making our voices heard.
yeah.
This country cannot move forward from where it is without the support of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And our representatives in government, whether it's your state government, your local government, or your federal government, they all need your support. They can't do it without you. And your opinion counts. And if it doesn't count, you need to rethink who you're voting for.
Yeah.
But there's so much information at your fingertips in finding out. You can even find out their voting records and take a look at that. It just takes some research, yes. And I'd love to do it for you, but I can't handle all 50 states.
Oh, Miss Pat, yes you can. You're just being, you're being complacent.
Yeah, I'm being complacent.
Yeah, no. So, and it's not just like you just mentioned. It's not. I feel like it's kind of given to me, kind of a thought maybe from the Lord. You know how like a small little tiny splinter in your finger, in just the right point spot, your whole body will stop and focus on that one little area. And so it's not just about this big head on your shoulders. It's like without thought about the rest of the body, which would I liken to the federal government. But the states and the locals can be like the thorn in the whole system. It's not just about, United Washington. The local governments and being involved in a local area, which in turn, can get attention. The states are supposed to have tremendous power in the United States. We've got to remember that when they were forming the country, they were looking at setting up the states as individual countries here in the United States. In America, before they determined the states, they were looking at the Europe model, where each state is its own country, and then they decided to go with the state concept with the federal government, kind of limited federal government, and most everything pushed down to the individual states and the
Which is where
local.
we have gone astray.
Yes, big time.
We have taken away, the federal government has taken away so much from the state governments that the state governments our state representatives need to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
Right, and it wasn't even a legal thing.
No.
It wasn't even it was more like they just took.
We'll go back to the Constitution. There are 18 enumerated powers that the legislature has. And who makes law? The legislature. Not the president, not the judicial branch. The legislature makes law, and they are limited on what they can do. All of these things like the Environmental Protection Agency and stuff like that are falling under the federal. Your insurances is falling under the federal government. That's not the way it works.
That's not what the Constitution says, and the Constitution, you have the backing of the Constitution. So, anyway, just like the little thorn, the little splinter in your spot, and one little spot can make the whole system take a look. So you as a person, bringing your opinion on it can be, I wouldn't say, you're not trying to be an irritant, but you are part of the whole system.
Yes.
So anyway,
And one more thing.
yes.
We have a sleeping giant that needs to wake up.
Where is it?
The church.
The church, of course. The church needs to wake up, but what if you don't want politics in your church?
You already have it.
The politics are already there.
I mean, politics are everywhere. I always laugh because, just one little point here. I always laugh because people would get all riled up over network marketing. Pyramid.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Look at your family. Look
Yeah.
at your church.
Yeah.
Look at Jesus.
Yeah.
He had disciples.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in more disciples.
Yep.
And they brought in more disciples. Everything's a pyramid.
It is. It's the kingdom. The king appoints representatives of his kingdom, and so, yeah, everything is like that. So
if you need something, have questions, my email address has changed
for now.
It's P like Pat, N like Nancy, B like boy, SUND at outlook.com.
Yes. So if they tried the psund at thechurchalive.com, there was some errors or something like that on there. So we're gonna, fix that and get that.
But this one is working.
That one's working. So if you haven't gotten a response from Miss Pat,
I apologize.
she's been complacent by not checking her emails. No.
I tried.
Yeah, she did try. I don't know. So anyway, why don't we pray?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lord, for allowing us an opportunity again to meet with people across the airwaves, dear God. Lord, you've called this ministry specifically to the airwaves in all of its various forms, dear God, all of its various podcasts, and the people that are gracious enough to share their time and talent to bring a wide variety of information. Lord, this ministry that you've called us for has changed according to your will and wishes to be able to do stuff like this. And so thank you for giving us the willpower. Thank you for allowing us to be able to have the technology. Thank you for allowing us to have the want to do these kind of things. And all of this is for a specific reason. Hopefully, dear God, ultimately in the end is to bring you glory and honor and praise. In the end, our lives are about serving you, dear God, loving you. It's about salvation of mankind. It's about understanding the way the kingdom operates, even while we're here in our bodies and we're dealing with different civil governments on the earth. In the end, God, your government overshadows all of it. And so, Lord, help us to be conscious about, what we're allowing into our society, dear God. There's going to be an account that has to be given. And so, Lord, help us just to do things your way and help lead people to you ultimately. We bless you, we thank you, we honor you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
And what do we say?
See you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
That's been revealed when we walk in your light. When we walk in it, shine bright. Let your glory fill this land. Lift high, the King of Kings and great I am, Jesus. You are the way.